From Left Side, Right Side Games, I'm Artie Q. Pebbleton, and this is Chalking Points. This week we'll be diving into a question from Dan, but first I'd like to thank user Sang-Froidishable for contributing his or her constructed language, Vorenthel, to the discussion last week. I'm not sure what a Vorenthel accent sounds like, but I will just try out my standard foreign accent. Genorchar erencialum. In Sang-Froidishable's constructed language, it means there are many trees in the forest, which I choose to interpret as the Vorenthel equivalent of the conciliatory expression, there's plenty more fish in the sea. Thank you for enriching the internet, Sang-Froidishable. Keep up the good work. Now, on to Dan. He writes, knock on wood. I know what it means, but what does it mean? So, my idioms dictionary says that knock on wood dates to the early 20th century and is a relative of the Britishism touch wood. It's a superstitious idiom. You say knock on wood or you actually knock on some wood in order to prevent some perceived bad outcome, like, I hope I am not eaten by bears, knock on wood, or as an insurance policy against an unstated bad thing, like, I'm a shoo-in for that promotion, knock on wood. My dictionary says, quote, this expression alludes to an ancient superstition that literally knocking on or touching wood will ward off evil spirits. Everyone wants a piece of this superstition. I'm finding it everywhere, and everyone's got a folk etymology for it. I read that it's a Christian superstition, that it's a sort of sonic reference to the wood of the true cross. This may be true. It may also be true that knocking on wood in Eastern Orthodox countries is influenced by the samantron, or the xylon, which is an enormous wooden instrument played in monasteries to call the monks to prayer, toward the notion that prayer will ward off the devil. However, what little scholarship exists on the subject seems to point me toward a pre-Christian superstition. Now, according to the Dictionary of Celtic Mythology, pretty much every tree you could find had magical or spiritual properties. The Roman historians Pliny and Lucan wrote of the sacred groves of the Druids. Lucan described one thusly in his 1st century poem, Pharsalia. No bird rested in the nematon, nor did any animal lurk nearby. The leaves constantly shivered, though no breeze stirred. Altars stood in its midst, and the images of the gods. Every tree was stained with sacrificial blood. Oh, happy Halloween, by the by. So, ancient Celts who lived all over Western Europe venerated trees and the gods and spirits that they housed. In asking a nature god for help or guidance, you laid hands on the tree they represented. In medieval British folklore, this was somewhat preserved when people cursed by using the names of trees. In the ancient and horrifying ballad Glasgerion, which was revived in the 60s as Jack O'Ryan, and the main character, quote, swore a bloody oath. By oak and ash and bitter thorn, if you'll pardon my druidic. This isn't something that most people do these days, unless they are Wiccans. There is also the theory, put forth by authors Stefan Bechtel and Deborah Aronson, that the superstition comes from making a lot of noise to prevent evil spirits from hearing about a run of good luck. That knocking on wood is a neutered form of this obnoxious noise-making ritual. Probably it was hard to tell people the good news with all of this noise going on. Dan. I've tried to answer your question to the best of my ability, but for some of these idioms, they're just so old, or so shrouded in competing origin stories that it's difficult to find out what an expression really means. This is one of those idioms where I have a good approximate sense, but as for specific origins, I have to shrug my shoulders. Most ancient peoples used wood. Most ancient peoples had superstitions. All ancient peoples had hands for knocking on stuff, so I'm gonna have to label this one with a big fat, I'm not sure. Which is okay sometimes. It's healthy to admit that you don't know something. It's part of being a grown-up. And knowing your limits and being humble in your ignorance is part of that. Life lessons! Okay, that does it for this week, I expect. If you've got questions, you know where to go. Our website, lsrsgames.com. Until next time, laugh, learn, light up your language. I'm Artie Q. Pebbleton, and I'll see you around. 2 possible after-clicks this week. One is my favorite version of Jack O'Ryan by the Pentangle, and here is a video of a monk playing the Semantron at a monastery in Egypt. Both awesome, both weird, both a little spooky. Happy Halloween type times. See you next week.